welcome to our Accessibility for Parks Grant Opportunity video. This guide is to help you prepare for your AFP application for this funding opportunity. There are a set of 3 application videos. This first one is an overview of AFP and includes the application checklist. Video 2 will go through preparing the application and supporting documents that you will need to submit. And then video 3 goes through the scoring system overview and provides definitions that are used for the grant application. So in this first one, we just really want to let you know what you need to know to complete through this application process. So AFP, or Accessibility for Parks, if you go to the North Carolina State Parks website at this web address, you can go to the AFP program page, click on that, and please go down to the For Applicants section to download a copy of this application. I recommend that you do that as you prepare, as you go through these videos. That will help you take notes and get ready to prepare a competitive application. You may also go to Recreation Resources Service. We'll show you more on that later. But RRS, we are here to assist you, provide feedback and guidance as you prepare your application. And the application also lists a lot of additional grant resources to help you with preparation. So AFP is one-time funding. It was appropriated by the North Carolina General Assembly. It provides $10 million for matching grants to benefit children and veterans with disabilities in North Carolina. So basically it's to build accessible facilities, or you may adapt existing facilities that meet the unique needs of children and veterans with physical and developmental disabilities. And we'll talk about more examples of that later. But it's similar to PARTF. It's actually funded through the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Trust Fund, or PARTF. So these funds act much like those funds do. However, this one, the maximum request is $500,000 for each application you submit, but the match is you only need to provide $1 of local funds for every $5 in grant funds. So that's a much better way to leverage your money than it is with PARTF, which is typically 50-50 or 1-to-1 match. So let's talk about some design considerations, because this is talking about accessibility for parks. So there's a couple on the terminology that we use. We talk about accessible, and that's usually the minimum requirements through the Americans with Disabilities Act, accessibility guidelines. Those are required by law, and it really provides the minimum standards. So this is looking more towards universal design, and that's really where you balance design to meet many needs, enabling access for all backgrounds and abilities. And the whole goal of that is kind of this inclusion. So when you do build like an inclusive playground, for example, or other facilities, you're basically creating an environment that may be accessed, understood, and used to the greatest extent possible by people regardless of their age, size, sensory, mental health, or intellectual ability or disability. So this is really the ultimate goal, is participation by your park visitors, so that they may come and participate in an independent and natural manner, without the need for adaptation, modification, or assistive devices. So now that's the ultimate goal, and we don't think that, for the most part, you probably won't be getting to that point. So this grant actually does apply for you to be able to do adaptation, modifications, ways that you can help folks with different disabilities and abilities use your park facilities and participate. So those are just some design considerations. So again, we're talking about everybody's abilities. There's cognitive, physical, communication, sensory, and socio-emotional. So think about all these different things. It's not just physical disabilities, which accessibility guidelines tend to look at building infrastructure for that, but this is going beyond that. So a lot of times you might be providing programs, and while AFP does not fund programs, we're here to help you fund the facilities so you can facilitate those programs and have them available. So again, with all these types of things that you need to think about, who are the people that are going to be using those? Do they have intellectual challenges, orthopedic challenges on needing to provide assistance? Think about speech and language, children and adults, vision issues, hearing problems. So these can all be challenges, and it could be, think of as a result of autism or traumatic brain injury, for example. These are different needs and uses that, as they come to participate in your park, in programs, in sports and recreation facilities, how can you upgrade your facilities to help meet the needs of these clientele that live in your community? So that's the main thing with AFP. So let's go over the timeline. So the funding was announced last fall by the General Assembly. This spring and summer, the application's out right now. So now through September, hopefully you're preparing your application review. I know quite a few folks have already talked with our RRS consultants. November 1st is when the application deadline is, but there's a September 15th deadline that you can submit your application to your RRS consultant for review. They'll give you a technical review. Now you can present it earlier to them, but they'll be glad to give you feedback, help you with any questions you have, give you constructive feedback. So that deadline is so they have time to review the applications and then get it back to you in time for you to make those updates. But again, November 1st is when the application is due. We'll do evaluation this winter. In the spring, the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Authority will select the awards, and then in the spring, it'll be spring of 2023 before contracts are signed and you can begin the project. So again, these are the key dates we mentioned. September 15th is your deadline for your consultants to review. November 1st, applications must be postmarked by that date or received at the Division of State Parks in Raleigh. So again, applications may be mailed to this address. This is all in the application. If you mail it, please include a tracking number, FedEx, any of those, include a tracking number. Make sure you have that. They need to be, if you're delivering them in person, that needs to be delivered no later than 5 p.m. on November 1st. To the actual location, Division of State Parks. So now you want to look at the application checklist. Everything that we have here tells you what all you need to include. Make sure you have your applicant, project name listed on every page. There's one single paper copy of the entire application that you need to submit. Do not use staples on these. That paper copy becomes the official document. But also you need to submit a digital copy on a flash drive with the individual files for each thing, for each application item in a PDF format. And this is how we'll review it. Make sure you keep a copy for your files. So these are required of all applicants. You need to have everything that's included in 1 through 11. This other section for the scoring system, these may be if applicable. So if you don't have a master plan for your park, then you would not need to submit that. Each item has a page reference where it is in the applications that tells you how to do it. We'll go through some of those. The number of copies required, again, one single paper copy of everything. But for the description and justification and the site plan, you will need to submit 15 paper copies. And those are the copies that goes to the Park Authority. So they have the original plans as you intended, as they're printed out for their review. And then finally, if you have the PDF checklist, you want to use the file name shown. So in parentheses, checklist, basic facts, and you can see in this example where an applicant, numbered each one, had the name that's used here. And that just helps us in review to make sure that we find the documents and are able to review everything. So if you're an eligible applicant or is either a county or incorporated municipality, joint applications are eligible. Projects can be development or renovation on a single site, so at one park. If you want to do like playgrounds at 3 different parks, you would have to do 3 different applications. So single site per application. And if you're considering renovation or replacement of facilities that were previously funded by PARTIF, please contact your RRS consultant. We need to make sure that it's eligible for this or that you can use the funds to update those facilities. Again, the maximum request is $500,000 with $1 local match to $5 in AFP funds. The value of in-kind services, so people that volunteer or you're using local government equipment, that cannot be used as part of the match. Perfectly fine if you use those, that way you can reduce your overall expenses, but it cannot be used as the match. Anything that's built or renovated with AFP funds like PARTF must be available for public recreational use for a minimum of 25 years. So keep that in mind and plan for that as you use it. Evaluation of each grant application is done by the PARTF staff. So that's RRS and the grants administration staff are divided into scoring teams. We review the application and documentation, conduct pre-award site inspections, and we come to a score or the final evaluation and a consensus. But the actual selection of the grants is not done by the staff, it's done by the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Authority. And they consider factors such as the project description and justification that you prepare, criteria in the scoring system, geographic distribution, the population, compliance with prior grant agreements, presence or absence of other funding sources, and the amount of funds requested, and of course the amount of funds available. There's $10 million available, so once they run out of money, that's why you want to make your project competitive. Geographic distribution, for the sake of the Park Authority, they use the North Carolina Prosperity Zones to evaluate geographic distribution, so keep that in mind. And then also know that if you're awarded a grant, you'll get a manual on how to manage that grant, but also the local government will sign the contract, begin the project. This is a reimbursement grant, so you have to expend money to then be reimbursed for money. You do not get everything up front, but you can do reimbursements throughout the project. There's a 3-year project period, which will include audits and inspections by the RRS consultant. And then you'll complete the project and we'll celebrate with a ribbon cutting. So RRS has 4 regions. So we have East, Central West, and Western region, and these are the consultants that can help you with your application, answer questions, do reviews. So please reach out to them. Go to our RRS webpage, and we will be glad to help you. So thank you. This is the conclusion of the first video, the AFP overview. Please watch the next 2 videos to prepare the application and go over the scoring system and grant definitions. Thank you.